And we are so back, ladies and gentlemen. I so appreciate y'all sticking around. Sticking around. Oh my gosh, I'm echoing like crazy. But yeah, if y'all missed it, we had an awesome guest here. It was interesting because my partner's not here, and I had a visitor come in, and he really helped me out. He helped me out, ask some questions with the guests and everything. So I really appreciate that. If y'all missed it, I had a group come in here, and they were discussing credit repair and the services that their offers that they offer. And actually there's an event coming up, and it's free seminar, free consultation, help you repair your credit and all of that. But what happened was I had an event, well, not an event, more like a discussion panel I was going to do. A few ladies had hit me up and said, hey, I missed your last one. I would love to come on. So I threw something together. Let's come on. And they didn't show. But in the process, I had reached out, to get a counselor because I didn't want to keep saying I'm sorry, my condolences, because when you're hurting, words are anal, and no one wants to keep hearing that all the time. So I reached out, and I was blessed. And I have a young lady here who, was willing to come in from work. How fascinating things are. She was going to come in from work and sit and meet with these people, but that didn't happen. But what did happen was she's here. So let me elaborate that. I'm so happy. I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful. And Miss Nitra Green is in the building. Yes, she's here, and she's going to be here discussing all the lovely, beautiful things that she does as far as grievance and counseling. And if you want to call in, our phone line is 484-477-6348. We are PhillyHottRadio.com. We're live internet YouTube. But before I bring her on, I don't know if y'all know that I had partnered up with two comedian promoters. They're awesome. I went to their first event. What is it, like last week? And when I tell you, no, it was like 2 weeks ago, when I tell you that the people were literally out their chairs laughing, yeah, it was just that funny. So we partnered up, and moving forward, for every show they have, I get a pair of tickets. So I am going to be giving away a pair of tickets for anyone that can call in, 484-477-6348, and it is May the 18th. It's a Saturday. It's a two for oneer. Basically, Stephen Ward's birthday is actually that day. So right after the comedy show, they're going to do a birthday party. So they do have some amazing guests. Of course, Malcolm Hill is the host. And then they have Rob Stapleton. Yeah, boy. So I have a pair of tickets to give away for that. And then, of course, March 30th, the end of this month, Philly Hott is attached to another event. So we're back again. We're doing the all-star competition, unsigned. So basically any artist that think, you have some talent, you want to express it, you want people to know about it. We have Gilly the Kid there. We have Flossie the Boss there. We have Flyboy Chris, a few of the judges that'll be there. There is $1,000 cash for first prize, and then a Sony deal distribution. So I have what is called $25 tickets that I'm going to give away for free. I have a whole bunch of free stuff. Yeah, and then this Saturday, I was supposed to have went to a comedy show that I'm not going to go to. Of course, is with Malcolm Hill hosting, and then we have who's going to be there? Touré, who's going to be there this Saturday. The Northeast Powerhouse Comedy Club. But I'm not going to be there because I'm going to a car, what is it? We're doing a car camping. And basically we just camp out, but we're going to sleep in the car because I'm not setting up my tent because I'd rather see you coming for me with a door attached than my tent. So we're going to do that this over the weekend. So I'm going to give that away, but, be the caller to call in, and you and win some of these lovely tickets on top of some other stuff that I have. But I'm not going to hold you anymore because I have a guest here. I have an awesome guest, Nietzsche Green here. Beautiful, lovely, and recently married. Or what is it, our honeymoon? Past our honeymoon stage?
Yeah, we still
So,
honeymoon.
yeah, they still honeymooners. Oh, so she's here, and let me let her on. So, Ms. Green, I so appreciate you being here. I thank you for taking the time to come in from work to sit here and do tell. Like, who are you, Ms. Green?
Thanks for having me. I
You're
really
so
appreciate the
welcome.
opportunity to come and talk about my passion and my mission. So I'm Anitra Green. I am a Chester native. I am currently a school social worker at Wyden Partnership Charter School. My background is in mental health. I've been in this field for 20 years, and this new mission of really trying to address grief is something that I've intensified over the last 2 to 3 years. I love children. I love working with families, and this grief mission is really my new passion. And I appreciate you inviting me to share.
I thank you for coming out here. I really do. So this grievance thing, like what exactly? Because we all think, we all grieve differently, and we all have this misconception that where everyone's supposed to grieve, I guess pretty much the same way. Right after someone passes away, you're supposed to break down, and there's like a time frame, like okay, 2 days is enough, or 3 days, or okay, you'd cry for a month, like let it go. My mother and my grandmother raised me, so my grandmother had passed. That was like 94. 95 comes, 96 comes, certain songs came on. I started crying. 97, I'm sitting up here, okay, that's not good. Okay, when should I stop? And then I had a dream of her, and I went and I literally thought there was something mentally wrong with me. I had no counselor, no one to turn to, so I didn't know that this was normal. Is that normal to grieve that long for someone?
It is. So I want to go back to what you said about
Okay.
the right or wrong way to grieve. I always tell people that there is no right or wrong way to grieve, and there's no time limit on grief.
None.
So I know that people says time heals all wounds, and there is a little bit of truth to that. That as time goes, you may be able to cope with your feelings more, but grief really never ends because your love for the person that you have lost really never ends. And I also want to go back to the conversation about 2 years later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. There's a quote that's one of my favorites, and it says that grief never ends, but it changes shape. And I think that that's the best way to really capture what a grief journey looks like. And I use the word grief journey because grief is a journey. It's not a one-time occurrence. There is no time limit on it. I lost my grandmother 20-something years ago. I lost my father 7 years ago. I lost my nephew over 20 years ago. And all of those losses have found their way. At some point, I've recently cried about them. You mentioned I was a newlywed. On my wedding, probably about a week before I got married, thinking about the fact that my uncle would have to walk me down the aisle and not my father was very painful. I spent a lot of nights crying about that. And so there are the songs, there's the music, there's the television show, there's the recipe, there's the date, there's the holidays. There are endless reminders. And the thing about grief that makes it so challenging is that the grief, the lost grief when you lose someone. I want to clarify that grief is really not just about death, and that's kind of been a part of my new conversation too. There are people who are grieving who have family members who are incarcerated because they cannot see them. There are military personnel who are grieving because they've lost limbs, they've lost their health. There are divorcees grieving because they have lost their partner and part of their identity in marriage. So part of my mission too is to broaden what we think about grief. When you hear grief, you think about death, but it's not just death.
Mm-hmm.
It's all of those things that I mentioned. The person who's had a miscarriage, which they may or may not have even mentioned to anyone, but they are grieving. So my hopes is to really
redefine and really bring attention to the fact that grief is a journey. And it's probably one of the most difficult journeys that a person can take. I've been on several of them myself. So when I'm speaking, I'm not speaking from the standpoint of being a counselor. I've seen grief on the side, on a personal side, and I've also supported people on a grief journey. So it's challenging.
Yeah.
It's definitely challenging.
Yes, it is. It is very challenging. And I'm thank you for clearing that up because I'm learning to watch my words. I really am. I'm learning to watch my words. I'm fixated on saying crazy, and I catch myself when I say that word because that is attached to, for me, the mental. So I don't want to label that word, but I really thought that I literally had some mental issues because I'm like, okay, like that's a little bit too long, to just literally just start breaking down the thought of it really gnawed at me when I thought of over the period of time I would forget what she looked like because I didn't get any pictures of her, so it's like, ooh. Now I can't remember what she looks like. I can't remember what her voice sounds like. I don't want to lose those memories. And then, yes, so that like gnawed at me, but to hear you clear that up and to hear somebody say, okay, well, it's not abnormal, to do them things. But yes, but Miss Green, answer me this: what made you get into that field? Because of all the things, counseling is kind of, you get people that come from all over discussing all types of stuff, and you have to
Yes,
endure. You have to have that patience to hear and retain, and yeah.
Honestly, I say this all the time, and this is Social Work Month, so shout out to all the social workers. March is Social Work Month, but really, I don't feel like I chose this field. I really felt like it chose me, and I say that because growing up, people would always come to me and tell me their problems. They would say, "Oh, you're easy to talk to. I feel like you understand me." I would have strangers sit next to me on the bus, and out of all the people on the bus, they wanted to talk to me. Well, you know what? I don't know why I feel comfortable, but I never really told anybody this. So really, my love of people and the fact that people love to talk to me and that I'm a good problem solver really lent itself to me becoming a social worker. Grief became a personal interest of mine. I would say back in 1998, 99, after going on losing, I lost my nephew to SIDS in October of 98. And then I lost my paternal grandmother, who was like my mother, who was like a second mom, January of 99. Then I lost my maternal great grandmother, April of 99. So I lost two matriarchs 3 months apart. That was the beginning of me understanding the challenge of grief. And really, that was an awful time. It was a terrible time. And I really didn't realize that God would use that part of my life full circle, and now I'm on the other side of trying to support grieving people. I've been on a lot of grief journeys since losing my patriarchs. As I mentioned, I've lost my stepmother, I've lost my father, I've lost a friend, I've lost a previous coworker, and so the list goes on and on. But this work is not easy, but it's rewarding when you see people inspired and knowing that there's something that you can say, or listening to someone's story can really be the difference between them feeling like they're surviving or them thriving. So that's kind of my background in terms of how I landed where I'm at now.
Very interesting. It is like,
And I had these losses. Ironically, the irony of it all is that I experienced all these losses while I was pursuing my master's degree at the University of Pittsburgh. So during the time I was trying to become a counselor, I was going through my own personal turmoil. But thanks be to God, He allowed me to get through that period so that I can sit here and talk to you now, because I really at that point wasn't sure what the outcome was going to be.
yeah, that is kind of trying to go to school, trying to maintain good grades, concentrate, and then the loss of a loved one, and
Three people in 9 months.
three people. Wow, but it does make you a better person, if that's the right word. It makes your shoulders a little stronger than the normal person because you're able. And I'm not saying because your death is better or different than anybody else's death, because we all have experienced death. It's just that some can't handle the pressure of hearing somebody else. I just lost a loved one. Like, and then here you come with, I just lost a loved one. I'm trying to cope with my grief, and then here you come with your grief. But then you have that special gift that makes you be able to handle yours, endure somebody else's, and still walk you and them, into some sort of peace, if that's what you want to, for everybody is for some it's like, ooh, how am I going to get through it? Which is why we turn to counselors, because I can't do it on my own, and like you said, shout out to the counselors out here, because I couldn't do it. I don't know what it is. I have people that turn to me, but theirs are more on a prayer side. And I'm not trying to separate God from prayer, but and I know you because we fellowship together, so I know your prayer is on point, but there's some people that would rather just do counseling and not the prayer. You know, yeah. And I'm have people that just hit me with the prayer rather than the counseling. So, man, shout out love to those that are out here providing counseling, especially, because it's out here. There are people out here that really need somebody to talk to. So let me ask you this, Miss Green, because you went to school and everything, got your little degrees and everything. So if someone wanted to reach out to you and say, hey, you know what, I like her, like I really do feel her vibe, I think she's good for me, how would they go about contacting you to learn more, to know more?
Sure. Well, right now, I'm actually in the process of establishing my own mental health consulting business. But I am on Facebook. I'm at under Anitra Green. No E on the end, just GREEN. So you can request me. I'm establishing a page. I also can be reached through email at Anitra, ANITRA_Taylor, which is my maiden name, TAYLOR, at yahoo.com. And I am in the process of establishing a grief conference, which I'll talk about a little bit later because I have some specific details for that.
Ooh.
And I'm looking forward, very much forward to this year's conference.
Oh yeah, you got a conference going on. Well, from my understanding, you've done a conference before. Yeah, how did that turn out?
The conference turned out great. Actually, last year I hosted my first conference, Grieving with Hope. 2018 was the first year that I decided to just step out and try to host something that was really a vision for 3 years. We had about 50, 60 people come out. I was pretty excited about the fact that people came out. They were educated on the grief processes. They were inspired. We had Dre Clark from NBC 10 come out
Oh
and speak.
yeah.
My girlfriend Janelle Foster, who is a powerhouse in and of herself on a grief journey, getting ready to finish up law school. And then I had Dr. Dawkins, Erica Dawkins, who's one of my sisters that I fellowship with, as well as my colleague, who broke down the stages of grief and really educated us. She's a licensed psychologist about the grief journey and the grief process. And so this year I'm looking to expand the conference by doing all of those things, but also honoring some women in particular who have experienced losses and are doing some amazing things in the process of their grief journey. They are inspiring and making their mark on the world. So I'm looking forward this year to expanding it to offer Hope Awards. So I'm really looking forward to it. Grief is not an easy topic to talk about, but my message is to grieve with hope. You can grieve without hope, and that's a very destructive process. But when you grieve with hope, you find out that there is life after loss, or whatever it is that you're struggling with, whatever your grief journey has brought you to that place, that there is hope afterwards. And that's the message that, just like I had to find a way to get through graduate school by the grace of God, my faith and support and family and counseling, all of that together, I was able to find my way. And so I just want people to not take this journey alone. My motto is always, the grief journey is not to be taken. Nobody should have to take that journey alone.
Now, when you say grieve with hope and grieve without hope, I I remember I worked. I'm not going to name the job, but I worked at this job, and there was a lady that was always talked about. Because she just always had an excuse why she couldn't come to work, you know. But in actual reality, it happened in our family. So to sum it up, basically it was like there was one death after the other. And it was like, how can one person have that many? And I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but how do you convince somebody or how do you get somebody to understand that you said the hope that, okay, first loss is okay, okay. But then you turn around, there's another one, and there's another. How do you get somebody to understand there is hope during all of this that's going on?
Well, I think that, when these things are happening, and I'm using myself as an example, I think my spirit, I'm not going to say I think, I know that my spirituality and my support system were really where I received my hope from. Number one, just having my own relationship with God. I have to say that I understood that death was a part of life, but it really rocks your world. And so I knew that, I needed to do more than just pray. I needed to seek out support. I did talk to counselors when I was on my grief journey. I had people visiting. There's times that I didn't want to be bothered. So I think the main thing is just to walk alongside someone. Sometimes you don't know the words to say. Sometimes it's just physically showing up. And
Mm-hmm.
I always say that, when people are grieving, sometimes people don't know what to ask you for. Sometimes you don't know what to say when you're the person trying to support, but it's really about just being present. Sometimes your silence is a blessing, where you're just saying, hey, I'm just here. Tell me what you need. It might be that you're sitting on the couch with this person not saying anything, but you're just physically there. It might be that you say to a person, what can I do for you? Send your children over for this weekend. I just want to give you some moments by yourself where you can just collect your thoughts. So, how do I, as a counselor, let people know that, grief is a process and a journey. Education is key as well. As you said, some people don't understand the grief process and they're trying to figure out, I'm crying one day, I'm fine one day, I'm up one day, I'm down, just to understand that that's what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of my favorite quotes is that, grief is like the ocean. Sometimes it's calm and sometimes it's torrential, but you just have to learn how to swim. And
Wow.
that's a powerful analogy. It's probably one of the best analogies that I can think of, a comparison to grief. There are times where you are going to be very calm and you think about the person, or it could be, as I went back to, you could be a divorcee and you might think about your marriage or see a picture of a bride and you might say, oh my gosh, she looks beautiful. You might see a picture of a bride after your divorce and cry for a week because you can't believe that your love did not end up being forever. And so it comes, it's ebb and it's flow. It's not all, one way, one time. And again, there's these dates, there's these constant reminders.
Mm-hmm.
So the quote for my conference is, let's take this walk together, because it's not a solo journey. A grief journey is definitely not a solo mission,
Yeah, it's
because
not.
it is overwhelming and we need to shoulder up. We need to be able to, sometimes it's a hug that you need to offer a person, sometimes it's finances, um, which leads me into a segue, if since we're talking about grief. I'd like to give a shout out as well and mention that I recently linked up with a sister, Tondalea Robinson. She's the founder and CEO of Widow's Might. She is hosting a conference on June 8th from 1 to 5 p.m. at the Canvas Event Center, and that's at 3870 Lancaster Avenue in Philadelphia. Her and I have talked endlessly about loss, and her, in this particular instance, she is a widow, and she decided that she wanted to support widows. But depending on what your loss is, if you lost your, primary breadwinner, your
Mm-hmm.
spouse, your best friend, it's devastating. It's not just emotional tolls. There's financial things that come with this. There's learning a new normal. As I speak of, when you lose a person, your norm changes. So if you are a widow or you know anyone who's a widow, please check out her website, widowsmight.com. And again, her conference is June 8th, 1 to 5 p.m. at the Canvas Center in Philadelphia. We're linking up. I'm going to be bringing a keynote presentation, we are really committed to helping people who are on a grief journey. Her particular mission, her specific interest is widows. Her organization focuses on widows. My conference is a little broader, but she's looking to bring some inspiration, education. This is a fundraising event, so even if you're not a widow, if you are in the area and you want to support grieving people, we would love to see you show your face in a place. Again, 3870 Lancaster Avenue, June 8th, 1 to 5. We are looking to support widows and really just, again, bring the inspiration, bring the hope, bring the message that you are not alone and that grief is a journey.
You keep touching on this hope thing, and I get that we need hope, and some people, I don't know where I'm gonna get that hope from. Like I don't know where to draw it from. Everybody's different. Of course, everyone processes the loss of a loved one differently. I had a group of ladies here last year, and each one lost a loved one to the streets, but each one differently. The one lady couldn't put final closure because she didn't know. How about this? She contradicted what the coroner said, which is kind of, yes. So she grieves daily, and it's been over probably 3 years or more. She refuses to accept how her grandson had died, and find it difficult to get people to understand that this is not how he actually died. So when you get someone who, like in her shoes, who are, again, everyone grieves differently. So basically what I'm trying to say is that she's getting hit on all sides because she can't lay it to rest because she doesn't believe this is how it happened, even though they're saying this is how it happened. So she can't be at peace because her every day is trying to digest that someone is falsifying how he died. And I know you would need to see that person and hear them and ask more questions. But, for someone who just doesn't know how to digest the loss of a death, what do you suggest they do, or not do?
Well, I think that the grief journey is, part of the stages of grief. There are different stages, and denial is one of them. Accepting the finality of death and the fact that there's nothing more final than death. Once it happens, that's it. So it's a very hard concept to accept. How many times do we talk to people who say, and I had to realize that they weren't there. I went in my mother's room, it's been 4 months, but I went in her room because I just wanted to go in there just because I just wanted to feel her presence. So really, honestly, working through grief is a process, and I always encourage, which leads me to my conversation about counseling. I highly suggest when people go through a loss that they seek support through counseling. I'm going to say this because I know that counseling is not a popular thing. I think we're getting better, especially as people of color. Counseling is not a dirty word, and it's talking about a challenge and problem solving together in a non-judgmental environment where you have someone's total attention who's unbiased. So I suggest people go to counseling. I'm a counselor myself, but I took this advice for myself. Before I became a counselor, I sought counseling because I was on a grief journey when I was getting my degree. So, it works. When you're talking to someone and you're working through your processes and you're going through these different stages and you're able to cry or laugh or just process, people don't understand the power of talking.
Right.
And how much happens when you unload your burden and you share your thoughts. And a lot of people who don't do that, they implode. So when I talk about grieving with hope versus grieving without hope, depression is real. And even though when you lose someone, you're going to be sad and you're going to cry. But there's a way that you can grieve and you can work through your feelings. And then there's destructive grief where people start to use drugs and alcohol and they're depressed and suicidal and homicidal and, angry and
You know, so if you don't work through your feelings, they show up in your behaviors. So, you know, as a school counselor myself, when there's losses, I always say to a parent, even if your child seems okay, let us talk to them. Let us just make sure that they understand what happened. Give them an opportunity to share their feelings, journaling, writing, going to grief support groups. Want to highlight, you know, if you're in the Chester area, I know our church, Life in Christ, has a grief share. There's a Chester Bereavement Project, and I know I'm in Philadelphia, so there's lots of grief. I'm sure there's lots of grief events and lots of places to seek counseling, but I highly suggest people. This young lady sounds like she would be someone, along with the countless others that are grieving, who would really benefit from going and talking to a counselor. The question is, when you say counseling, goes back to the word crazy, and it goes back to ain't nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need to see no shrink. I don't need to sit on no couch. I'm not. And I always say to people, do you have to be crazy to have a conversation? Because counseling is talking.
Yeah, we
it's
have
not that deep. But we have, when you talking to someone because you have an issue. Don't we all have issues? We have financial issues. We have marriage issues. We have all kinds of issues. We always quick to say that everybody has issues. Well, this is talking about your issue. And if your issue is grief, you're going through a grief journey, then that's your issue. Your challenge is that you're grieving and you need help. So we got to continue to work.
Yeah, we have
to get rid of the stigma around seeking out help, because it's really hurting us. And not just pray. I love Christ. I'm a believer. I'm a Christian. I love God. I did more than pray. I prayed, but I also had to seek out help. And so it's not just when people say, oh, well, you know, just pray about it and you're going to feel better. No, that's not.
Yeah, you have to do something besides. You have to put some work into it.
We have to do some work.
Yeah. Now you touched on, which I like, and I had a young lady come on and we discussed the same thing. Let me get your viewpoint on, why do you think within the Black, brown community it's like counseling shrink, psychiatrists is like taboo? I'm not going to them people. What goes on in our house? Do we still have that? What goes on in our house stays in our house?
We're getting a little better. I think that, and I laugh because I tell my friends all the time, I'm just like the one that's like, you get a counselor and you go get a counselor. And you know, I'm like Oprah's giveaway. I tell everybody, go to therapy. And while we laugh about it, our colleagues who don't, you know, I have friends who are not African American and colleagues, they talk about their therapists like they talk about their attorneys. Mm-hmm. It's a part of their village. And so I think that it comes from seeing mental health, number one, the taboo about the business being out. I think a lot of people are concerned about their business being out, but also this idea that if you go to counseling that you're quote unquote crazy or that something is wrong with you. Mental health, the same way we go to get, so my argument or my analogy, I would say, is I say to people, when you go to the doctors, are you embarrassed about getting your physical health? If somebody tell you have the flu, you need a flu shot. You're a diabetic. You're this. We don't feel like that about our health. We feel like we need to take care of our bodies.
Right.
You have to take care of your mind as well. And if you don't take care of your mental health, if you don't take care of your mindset, there are all types of problems because your mind and your body is connected. There are illnesses. Stress leads to sickness. Nervous breakdowns are real. If your mind is not right, you can cause yourself the amount of stress that raises your blood pressure and gives you a stroke. So, and just to feel emotionally, there's a lot of people who are struggling. Their emotions are so out of whack that it's causing a lot of problems.
Yeah, it is.
In society, but also in their own life, in their relationships. If you don't have good mental health, you know, I wrote a quote before that said that your relationships are not going to be any better than your emotional health, because how you interact with people, you know, if you're having a rough day and you don't have a clean head, you're yelling at your children for nothing, going off the deep end, getting fired for aggression. And some people actually have gone to the point of taking lives because they're so angry.
Right.
I think a lot of violence in our society has to do with mental health.
Yeah, that needs to be
unchecked
addressed.
Emotions, anger management. We have to start asking for help and stop pretending that we're okay. And so as a counselor of color, as a therapist of color, I really I can say I'm proud of the last 10 years I've been at my school. I'm seeing an increase in people feeling comfortable putting their kids in counseling. And I also think that sometimes people feel a little bit more comfortable when they can identify with the counselor.
Yeah.
It's a little still, we're still working on the distrust and the mistrust and the misdiagnosis. People have a lot of concerns about mental health records and fairness and some of our history in this country. So I think it's coming from a valid place, but we have to
learn to open up.
Become more open and understand.
I grew up listening. We always teased, we always mocked and laughed, the white people, they go into the council, they tell everybody all their business, but in the black community, there was stuff going on that's still going on, but now we're open to talk about it. And I'm totally agreeing with you, because if you don't say something, sometimes it gets bottled up. If you don't get your heart checked, what's going to, and if you don't get your mind checked, then if you don't let something out, then you become that anger, that I'm total agreement with that one. That you do need some counseling. Like, we need to come from behind the walls of that stereotype that, only white people seek counseling. Us black people, we have it all together, because us black, brown folks, we don't have it all together. We're just like everyone else. We need help too. And it's okay. It's all right to go to counseling. Ms. Green even co-signed. It's okay to do that. But yeah, I like where this is going. I really do. And and then you have an event coming up.
I do. Yeah. So I talked about the event on June 8th with Widows My event, Grieving with Hope Conference. This is the second year, and I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to the expansion. The date is October the 12th, and it is going to be from 10 to 2 at Life in Christ Cathedral of Faith in Chester, PA. The address is 3012 West 3rd Street. We are looking to, again, inspire, educate, singing, dancing, inspirational morning and afternoon. And we're looking to give out these Hope Awards. So I'm excited about presenting some phenomenal women who I will not announce yet. But these women have nonprofit foundations in their children's honor. So these women have lost their children. I'll give a little giveaway. And they have foundations, and they're doing some amazing work, and they're supporting people in the midst of their trials and tribulation, in the midst of their grief journey. They found the energy to support somebody else on their journey, and it's just outstanding. So I'm looking to expand this year. We are going to give out awards for the first time. So
okay,
I am going to so right now I'm asking people to save the date. The event will be on Eventbrite, open for registration. This is going to be a free event. I'm looking to if people want to sow a seed or invest in this conference, again, you can reach me at anitra_Taylor@yahoo.com. We are looking to just bring inspiration and hope to grieving community. And grief is not just death. So maybe you've had a divorce, maybe you have had a medical challenge, maybe you've lost your health, maybe you've lost your status, maybe you've lost a physical death. Most of the people who come to the conference last year experienced a loss, but I'm constantly trying to expand the fact that this is not just about death.
Right.
It's just about anybody who's on a grief journey.
Right.
And so again, October 12th, please save the date, 10 to 2, 3012 West 3rd Street. And then I will have flyers. I will also be, again, you will be able to find this event on Eventbrite under Grieving with Hope Conference. And the Eventbrite registration link will be open to begin registration May the 1st.
Okay. All right.
So things are underway.
I like this. I like the discussion of grief and counseling, and letting people know that it is, especially those our black, brown communities. Now's with everything that's going on. I get the part where you don't want everyone to know your business. I'm okay with that. But I think at some point you have to let somebody in for something, especially when you feel as though you can't handle or address or fix the problem yourself. And we all need someone to talk to. So, and I think counseling is, for me, I think is good because it's neutral. I want to say, if it's my friend, they may say something that lines up with me, and they may be that agreeable person. And sometimes you don't want somebody to always agree with everything you say. You want somebody that's neutral, who's going to tell you, okay, this is what it is, this is what you need to do. And I think counselors are neutral. They're able to assess your needs and recommendations. And whereas though a friend or a relative may just steer you, and not all of them, in the wrong direction when you're trying to get yourself in the right direction.
You're right.
Yeah.
And sometimes we want to talk to our friends, and I have close friends and we talk to each other, but a friend is going to be biased. Sometimes they don't want to tell you the truth because they're concerned about your feelings. Sometimes they're not able to listen objectively.
Right.
There's an answer. And so really counseling is more listening than it's really not about the person solving your problem. It's really about having a person listen to you intently and let you work through your challenges and offer suggestions or help you kind of put into words what it is. But most people really know what their problems are, and they're really not looking for answers. They just need to process it. They just need to talk about it. And so that's really what our job is we're kind of like the I don't want to say midwives, because I don't know that that's the best analogy, but we're just really there, like you said, neutral, trying to give support while you work through your process. That's really what our job is. And of course we do give you resources if you're struggling, if you're stuck, if you're like, hey, we might say, well, have you considered, or, here's my thought, or here's a resource. You're struggling, you don't really know what you're going to do. Have you considered seeing a financial planner, because you're a widow now and you don't know what to do with your money and you don't know where to start? I suggest to you, a financial advisor might be a good place to start. So, we have ideas, we have resources, we have suggestions, but we don't have all the answers. Sometimes people work through their own challenges and they come up with their own answers, honestly.
Yeah, they do.
But there's no judgment. So,
No judgment.
as Planet Fitness, when they say judgment-free zone, I always say it's like Planet Fitness. We're not going to judge you. It's judgment-free, because if you can't be honest and open, it's an opportunity to be honest and open and say whatever. I can't tell you the stuff that people have said to me in a counseling session. And it's like, wow, I try to keep my poker face on, because sometimes people tell you stuff and it's not that you're judging them. You're just, I'm amazed that a person would be that raw and real.
You're right.
With someone that they really only know professionally. But it's like, when people get in counseling,
it's
but
like
that's where you're supposed to give it to. You don't
to,
always get the opportunity to say something like that to your sister or
Yeah.
your best friend or whatever, because some people can't handle that level of truth. Counseling is just give it to us raw and real. What you say stays in this room, and you know how hard that is.
Yeah.
That's not many opportunities to say whatever you tell me, I'm bound. I could lose my whole career if I leave out this room and say what you said. And so how often do you get a chance to really tell somebody something?
Everything.
And nobody knows but you know.
Nobody.
Because, we get on the phone and say, such and such just
yes.
said. And, oh, my goodness, I'm so concerned. And sometimes we don't mean any harm, but it's hard to keep something confidential.
Yes, which is where counseling
is confidential.
Yes,
we are bound, and our license and our careers are on the line if we that's a gift. And so I'm encouraging people, if you are on a grief journey, to reach out to, you can reach out to your spiritual leaders. For some people that's the start, but there are behavioral health, mental health professionals who would be glad to, they have the skill sets and the training to be able to walk you through a process, and you'll be surprised how much better things are when you're finished.
Right. Well, Ms. Green, I love the discussion. I would love to do a part 2 to this, because
I would love to come back. I can never talk enough about counseling.
Because we really need people to understand that it is okay that you open up your heart, your mind to someone, because keeping it all bottled in is not really a good thing. It does leave us depressed, and you can't be happy holding all of that inside of you. But I would love to,
I would love to come back
and do a part 2 to this thing. And
I would love to come back, and next time I come back, I hope to have my flyers a little bit closer to the conference.
Yeah,
and,
okay. We do that.
Yeah, so I would love to come back. I thank Philly Hot Radio for having me.
You let me know, and we're gonna bring you back on here closer to the date, because we want to make sure people remember to come out to the event. Yeah, stay close to home and go support this young lady because she's doing some awesome, magnificent stuff out here, and you really do want to be a part of it. But before we go, is there anything that I haven't or you would like to share with our audience?
No, I just want to again remind you about the two events. June 8th, save the date, Widows Might for Widows, a night of inspiration. June 8th, 1 to 5 at the Canvas Event Center. And again, my conference, Grieving with Hope, October 12th, 2019, 10 to 2, Life in Christ Church, 3012 West 3rd Street. I guess I just want to leave an inspirational quote, and it's just that grief is as, this is from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who developed the stages of grief. So your homework is for you to go look up the stages of grief if you're on a grief journey, and to find out what Elizabeth Kubler-Ross has to say about the stages of grief. But one of her quotes is that grief is as individual as our lives. So for as many people that you have in a room, that's as many different grief journeys that's possible. So, don't compare your grief to somebody else's journey. Just understand that it's a journey. And again, it's not a solo mission. So I hope that for one of the events that I mentioned, that we can kind of take this grief journey together. And I hope to see you all who are on a grief journey at one of these conferences. And again, grief is not a solo mission. So I hope that you can grieve with hope. And again, Philly Hot Radio, thank you for inviting me to talk about. It's not a upbeat topic, but death is a part of life, and most of us are going to be touched by grief. So we might as well be prepared and have a better understanding and do this thing together. Take this walk together.
And she will be back, ladies and gentlemen. She shall return. So you'll hear more about her and her journey and all she has to, tell us, inform us, educate us. I like that word. We're going to be educated on grief and, everything that entails. So stay tuned for more about that. But I so thank you for coming out here.
Thank you for having me.
And we had a awesome group of people come out here to discuss credit repair and their services, free consultation. We have Mrs. Green that came out here, and she discussed grief. And it's not just grief, but getting ourselves together and mentally prepared and being able to sit down with someone and feel comfortable and just discuss, the things that are wearing and tearing you down. And now I'm going to take a pause for the cause. But when I come back, I have two young ladies who are actually actresses. They've done some theater work, a couple of plays and everything. They're all over the place. One is a returning guest. So they're going to be back on here in a few minutes, but I'm going to take a pause for the cause, put some music on for you, and I hope you enjoy.